I'm here with Ashwin Rajagopalan from Ashvita Gallery. So, first of all, it's great to have you on the show.
Good to see you.
So tell me, what is your booth doing this year?
So Ashvita focuses only on modern art from Madras. And this time we said we'll set the context. So we've brought some pre-modern masters. These are artists who studied in the college in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. So the first artist we have is D.P. Roy Chowdhury.
Still all based on Madras?
All of them are from Madras.
Okay.
But D.P. Roy Chowdhury studied under Nandalal Bose and Abhindranath Tagore in Calcutta. And that's why he was sent to Madras when they were looking for a principal. And he set up the curriculum, which was based on the Royal Academy of Art. So he brings in the European and particularly British academic style. And they teach drawing and painting in various styles in the college. So everybody else in our booth, whether it's Panikkar, Dhanapal, Krishna Rao, the Raj brothers, they were all direct students of Roy Chowdhury. And all of them went on to become principals and teachers in the college subsequently. So Panikkar here, he was the second principal after Roy Chowdhury, and then Dhanapal, and then Krishna Rao in succession.
So it's legacy.
It's like, it's like they were students, they were principals. So you can see the drawing sense, the watercolors, the ideas, the art history flowing without break and absolute transition going on, right?
And what ideas of Madrasi culture do these artists focus on?
So Madras that way is, so India has three modern schools. You have Calcutta, which looked at the East. They were looking at Asian art, they were looking at Japanese and Korean art, and they were inspired by that. They were looking at Mughal miniatures for inspiration. The Bombay moderns, they looked at the West. They were looking at Picasso and Cézanne and Paul Klee. But Madras, which happened, say, between the 1950s and 1970s, modern art, they were inspired by the regional. So they were looking at vernacular. They were looking at Tantra. They were looking at like South Indian spiritual traditions.
More inward looking.
Inward looking, right? So a lot of these artists, where you see them here doing watercolors and academic work, their primary career was focused on the inward looking, spiritual, South-based modern art.
And I really like the spotlight you've placed on them, because everywhere you go, you see your Hussain, your Raza, your Souza, who all take inspiration from European modernism. So this is actually a great palette cleanser.
Yeah, so we want to kind of spread the horizon, increase people's awareness of the various modern art movements in India. And Madras is something we're good at. That's where we're from. And therefore, it's time to bring a new market out here and new artists who are equally competent with very good artwork. So
I love this booth, and I'm sure you do too.
Thank you.
Are there any other booths that you love at India Art Fair?
So I am very partial to modern. So, and I think we're right now in this cluster, they put all the modern booths together. So whether it's Crayon, whether it's Chawla Gallery, whether it's Icon, all these artists, your usual Hussain, Razas, and so on. But particularly, I'm really loving Achyutan Kudalo. So he's also a Madras-based artist, but he's made it now into the mainstream moderns that have been collected. So there's a bit of Achyutan in the fair.
And where could we find him?
They're in Icon Gallery, and they're doing very well. I believe they're all sold out. But we're very happy that there's another Madras artist who's being
represented in the India Art Fair.
Yeah.
What's your least favorite booth?
I don't know if I have a least favorite booth, but I have a whole bunch of least favorite booths, which I won't mention. But no, it's fun. I mean, art is art. I don't look at, there's no like good art or bad art.
That's important.
But it's just good ideas and bad ideas. So there's a lot of bad ideas. People try what they can try.
Name one.
Yeah, I'm not going to name any bad idea. But, there's stuff, and I think people can make out. You can look at it. The one thing I hold as the key to a good artist is their quality of craftsmanship. I'm not calling them, it's not craft, but their craftsmanship, how they finish a work, how they treat their medium, how deeply do they understand the materials. And that's the difference, right? So you can look at a lot of artwork here that's really well finished, and then the artwork speaks for itself. And then there's just stuff that's put together. They don't understand the medium.
That's true.
They're trying new medium because they think new medium is what sells, but they're not able to control it. So good art, good artist, they need to have craftsmanship along with a great idea.
And do you think the Madrasis have control over that craftsmanship?
So what we're showing is control on craft, absolutely. So all these artists have a phenomenal sense of painting, color. They can handle the brush very well. But as they grew, it's these artists who had the skill set, who had the ability to either improve it and construct over that skill set, or they could deconstruct it. Because if you know everything about something, you can also remove what is not needed.
That's true.
And turn it on its head. So some of them did that. So some of them went from figuration to abstraction. Some of them went from figuration to tantra. Some of them stayed at figuration and improved the quality. So that's what's very important when you have skill, to be able to go either direction deliberately.
So are there any breakout artists you've spotted at India Art Fair this year around?
I mean, there are a few. I also collect personally. So I am very, very fond of this young boy. He's Harsha Chennangod. And he's shown at a few galleries, actually.
Which ones?
I think at this gallery from Pune, Vida something. I don't know what their name is, but I'm terrible at names. But they're from Pune. Don't quote me on this. But their work is there, and his work is there. It's very good. He does these lines. They're like grids. They're like checks and patterns. But there's something about it which is very meditative, that he's not just making lines, but he's actually consciously making these lines. He is very good. The other artist is an Afghani artist in Chatterjee and Lal. So she's kind of like a refugee of the current political situation. So she's not able to go back to Afghanistan. So she keeps painting things from her memory of Afghanistan. I find it interesting.
That's beautiful.
You know? So she's there. Of course, then my favorite, I keep thinking of her as a young artist, but she's not. Shobha Bruta. She's like 80 something. But her works are super contemporary. She's showing at Espas. She's showing at 1 by 1. She's in 2 booths. And a huge opportunity. She's highly underpriced for her age, experience.
So do you think that would be a good investment for
Absolutely,
people to
absolutely.
well? Okay.
On the investment front, there are a few. I saw some sculptures of Balan Nambiar. I've seen, I told you Achyutan already. There is Shobha Bruta. These are all people who are very senior, but extremely under-marketed. So there's a lot of room for growth there. Yeah, so there are opportunities.
That's a good way to look at things. Thank you for name dropping so many of these wonderful artists. What's something in the fair that has surprised you?
I think I've become very old and cynical. Nothing really surprises me anymore. But if I had to kind of figure out what I really liked, for some reason, I'm always partial to Nikhil Chopra. So every time I see his work, although I've seen his work a lot, I keep seeing it and I'm like, wow, right? He's a phenomenal draftsman. And his ability to draw is brilliant, right?
Okay.
The second work I saw, which has stayed in my memory, and you know I'm a Madras guy, is at DAG there is a Thomas Daniel. It's a painting of the Shore Temple. It's a small work because these guys were traveling across India and they couldn't produce large canvases. So they could only do spot sketches. And the painting of Mahabalipuram is fantastic. It's one of the best paintings in the entire fair.
And what draws you to that work?
It's like how they've captured a picture in time. The waves are still coming in. You can see the wind blowing. You can see people walking and their clothes are fluttering. So it's like it's a freeze frame. You know, it's like they screenshotted that particular location.
So for that one Daniel's work, it's not just the historical context of the work, but also the aesthetic beauty and craftsmanship.
Exactly.
That's a good way to look at it. Which artwork or artist in your booth is getting the most attention?
So there's an artist called Govind Raj. He's painted a blue landscape, and that's the artwork that's getting the most attention. And he's also the least known. We only know who he is when he was born, when he died, and where he studied. He studied in the college in the 30s and 40s. Besides that, very little work of his is seen. There may be 10 works of his known, like physically, that people have seen. And but his sense of composition and color are at a different level. So,
if you don't mind my asking, what's your process for acquiring these works?
Acquiring works is always fun, right? You're trying to say, I am more than a gallery, I'm a secondary market dealer, right? So while we have our contemporary program, we mentor artists, we bring in contemporary artists to our gallery, I also like to go and research, study, find these gaps, find these names, go after the artist, see where they are. Mostly only their families are around, talk to them, curate from there, build an estate, build a collection. It's a long process, and I enjoy that. Sort of like Indiana Jones, except you're not stealing temple stuff, but you're like, getting art and finding value and creating the value. And then, of course, placing them in their historic context. So it's a win-win situation. The artist gets their legacy
And recognition.
recognition, and I get my income and my business going.
Okay.
So
Thank you so much for your time, Ashwin.
absolutely,
And it's
been a
been
pleasure.